Nobody is thinking about you as much as you think they are. Read that sentence again, because your mind will try to reject it. It sounds harsh at first. It sounds lonely. It even sounds unfair. But hidden inside those words is one of the most liberating truths you will ever discover. Right now, somewhere in the world, someone you spent days worrying about has already forgotten the conversation you keep replaying in your mind. The mistake that stole your sleep, the awkward moment that made your heart race, the opinion you were terrified to share. It lives almost entirely inside your own head. While you've been carrying its weight like a stone, everyone else has been carrying burdens of their own. People are busy fighting invisible battles you know nothing about. They're worrying about their bills, their families, their health, their future, their own regrets, their own fears. They aren't sitting in a room discussing your life. They aren't analyzing every word you spoke. They're simply trying to survive another day, just like you are. Yet how much of your life has been shaped by an audience that doesn't really exist? How many dreams have you postponed because you imagined someone would laugh? How many opportunities have you ignored because you feared looking foolish? How many times have you remained silent when your heart desperately wanted to speak? Without realizing it, you've been acting on a stage that exists only inside your imagination. Every sentence carefully edited before leaving your mouth. Every decision filtered through the question, what will people think? Every ambition quietly reduced until it felt safe enough to avoid criticism. And little by little, you stopped living your own life. You began living a performance. That performance is exhausting, not because people are cruel, but because they were never watching as closely as you believed. This is the illusion that steals confidence from millions of people every single day. It convinces ordinary people to hide extraordinary ideas. It persuades talented people to stay invisible. It keeps kind people trapped inside relationships where they no longer belong. It teaches intelligent people to doubt themselves while chasing approval from strangers who barely know their names. The greatest prison isn't built from iron bars, but it's built from imagined judgment. The Stoics understood something that modern psychology has only recently begun to explain with scientific research. Long before laboratories existed, they recognized that suffering often begins long before reality does. We torture ourselves with possibilities that never happen. We surrender our peace to opinions that may never even exist. Marcus Aurelius spent years reminding himself of one simple truth. Your value does not rise because someone praises you, and it does not fall because someone criticizes you. Think about that for a moment. If your worth can be created by another person's opinion, then your life will always belong to whoever speaks the loudest. That's not freedom, that's emotional slavery. Most people never notice when this happens. It starts quietly that a child receives applause for behaving a certain way and slowly begins believing love must be earned. A teenager changes their personality just to fit into a group. An adult chooses security over purpose because disappointing others feels more frightening than disappointing themselves. Years pass. The mask becomes so familiar that they forget there was ever a face underneath it. Maybe you felt that. Maybe you've smiled while carrying pain no one noticed. Maybe you've agreed with opinions you never believed. Maybe you've apologized simply to avoid conflict, even when you did nothing wrong. Maybe you've convinced yourself that keeping everyone comfortable was more important than being honest with yourself. If so, you're not alone. Almost everyone has worn that mask. The real tragedy isn't wearing it once. The tragedy is forgetting how to take it off. Psychologists call this the spotlight effect. It's one of the most fascinating discoveries about human behavior. We naturally assume everyone notices our mistakes, our appearance, our failures, and our awkward moments far more than they actually do. Imagine spilling coffee on your shirt before walking into a meeting. Your mind immediately tells you everyone will notice, everyone will judge you, everyone will remember, but the reality is completely different. Most people either don't notice at all, or if they do, they forget within minutes. Why? Because they're too busy worrying about themselves. The person sitting across from you isn't studying your shirt, they're wondering if they sounded confident enough during their presentation. The person beside you isn't criticizing your haircut, they're silently criticizing their own reflection. The stranger who walked past you isn't replaying your awkward sentence. They're replaying one of their own. Every person is standing beneath their own imaginary spotlight, convinced the world is watching them. That's the beautiful irony. We're all afraid of being judged by people who are too busy judging themselves. The moment this truth truly sinks into your heart, something remarkable begins to happen. The invisible audience starts disappearing. Your shoulders feel lighter. Your breathing becomes calmer. Your choices become clearer. Not because life suddenly becomes easier, but because you're finally carrying only what actually belongs to you. And perhaps, for the first time in years, you begin asking a different question. Not, what will they think? But, what do I truly believe? That single question has the power to change everything. The hardest prison to escape isn't built with walls, that it's built with habits. And one of the strongest habits your mind has ever learned is asking for permission before living your own life. Permission to speak, permission to dream, permission to change, permission to become someone different. The strange part is that nobody ever officially demanded it from you. Somewhere along the way, you simply began believing that your happiness needed the approval of people who were still trying to figure out their own lives. That belief becomes dangerous because it doesn't stay in your thoughts. It slowly becomes your identity. You stop asking yourself what excites you. Instead, you ask what looks acceptable. You stop asking what feels meaningful. Instead, you ask what will receive the least criticism. Without realizing it, your entire future starts being designed by fear instead of purpose. This is exactly how authentic people slowly disappear. Not through one dramatic decision, but through thousands of tiny compromises. Point 1. Sentence left unsaid. One dream quietly abandoned. Point 1. Opportunity ignored. One boundary never expressed. Point 1. More day pretending everything is fine. Eventually those small compromises become your normal life. Then one morning you wake up wondering why you feel empty, even though you've done everything everyone expected from you. Because achievement without authenticity never feels like success. It feels like survival. The Stoics believed that every human being carries two lives. The first is the life the world sees. The second is the life only your conscience knows. Real peace begins the moment those two lives become the same. But that requires courage. Not the courage to fight other people, the courage to stop fighting yourself. Psychologists have discovered something remarkable about the human brain. The more often you ignore your genuine feelings just to satisfy other people, the easier it becomes to ignore yourself again the next time. Your brain creates patterns. Every time you silence your truth, that silence becomes stronger. Every time you betray your own values, betrayal becomes easier. Until one day you don't even recognize your own voice anymore. You become fluent in pleasing everyone, except yourself. This is why so many people feel exhausted without understanding why. They're carrying two identities, the person they truly are, and the person they believe everyone wants them to be. Maintaining one life already requires energy. Maintaining two is emotionally devastating. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack every hour of every day. At first it feels manageable. Weeks later your shoulders begin to ache. Months later the weight feels normal. Years later you forget what it felt like to walk freely. People-pleasing works exactly the same way. You become so accustomed to carrying emotional weight that peace starts feeling unfamiliar. But here's what changes everything. The opinions you feared for years often exist only inside your imagination. Think carefully. How many nights have you replayed one awkward conversation? How many times have you rewritten a message 10 different ways before pressing send? How often have you remained silent because you imagined someone might misunderstand you? Now ask yourself another question. How often have you spent weeks thinking about someone else's embarrassing moment? Probably almost never, because just like everyone else, you were busy living your own life. The same is true for them. Every person you meet is fighting an invisible battle. They're questioning themselves, comparing themselves, worrying about their future, regretting yesterday, hoping tomorrow will somehow be easier. They simply don't have enough emotional space to analyze your life as deeply as you imagine. And that's not sad. That's freedom. The moment you truly understand this, criticism begins losing its power. Rejection becomes less terrifying. Failure becomes less personal. You stop seeing every uncomfortable moment as proof that something is wrong with you. Instead, you begin seeing it as proof that you're finally living honestly. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the opinion of 10,000 people means nothing if those people do not understand what is truly good. Think about how radical that idea really is. Most people spend their entire lives chasing approval from individuals they would never ask for advice. Isn't that strange? You fear judgment from people whose lives you don't even want. You seek validation from people who are just as confused as you. Sometimes feel. You surrender your peace to strangers who cannot even control their own emotions. The Stoics refused to live that way, not because they lacked compassion, but because they understood something timeless, that if another person's opinion controls your emotions, then your happiness no longer belongs to you. It belongs to whoever happens to be speaking. That's a dangerous way to live. Real confidence is not believing everyone will like you. Real confidence is accepting that some people won't, and choosing to remain yourself anyway. That kind of confidence cannot be purchased. It cannot be borrowed. It cannot be gifted by applause. It is built quietly. Point one honest decision at a time. Point one uncomfortable conversation at a time. One boundary at a time. One act of self-respect repeated until it becomes your new identity. Because the greatest transformation doesn't happen when the world finally accepts you. It begins the moment you stop waiting for it to. Freedom does not arrive all at once. It appears quietly. In ordinary moments most people never notice. The moment you decide not to explain yourself to someone determined to misunderstand you. The moment you stop checking your phone every few minutes, hoping someone finally replies. The moment you realize that your peace is worth more than winning another pointless argument. This is where Stoicism stops being philosophy and starts becoming a way of living. Marcus Aurelius never promised an easy life. Epictetus never promised a life without criticism. Seneca never claimed you could control the world around you. Instead, they all pointed toward one simple truth. The strongest person in the room is rarely the loudest. It's the one who no longer depends on the room to decide who they are. Imagine waking up tomorrow without asking yourself how you appear to other people. Imagine making decisions because they align with your values, not because they impress strangers. Imagine speaking honestly without spending the next 3 days replaying every sentence. Imagine looking in the mirror and recognizing someone you genuinely respect. That life is possible, but it requires a different kind of discipline. Most people think discipline means forcing yourself to work harder. The Stoics saw it differently. Real discipline begins with protecting your attention, because whatever owns your attention eventually owns your life. If your attention belongs to criticism, fear will guide your future. If your attention belongs to comparison, nothing you achieve will ever feel enough. If your attention belongs to approval, you'll spend your life chasing people who are already chasing someone else's approval. So every morning, ask yourself a better question. What deserves my attention today? Not every notification, not every opinion, not every insult, not every expectation. Only what helps you become the person you want to be. That single habit changes everything. Think about how often you react instead of respond. Someone ignores your message. Your mind creates a story. Someone looks at you differently. Your imagination creates another story. Someone criticizes your work. Suddenly you question your entire ability. None of these reactions happen because reality demanded them. They happen because the mind loves creating meaning where certainty doesn't exist. The Stoics trained themselves to pause before believing every thought. They understood that thoughts are visitors, not rulers. Just because your mind whispers they don't like you doesn't make it true. Just because fear says you're going to fail doesn't make it a fact. Your thoughts deserve observation, not blind obedience. This is one of the greatest forms of inner freedom. You stop arguing with every uncomfortable emotion. Instead, you become curious about it. Why did this criticism hurt so much? Why am I desperate for this person's approval? Why does rejection feel like losing my identity? Those questions are uncomfortable, but they are also transformative. Because awareness breaks patterns. The pattern cannot survive once you begin seeing it clearly. Another Stoic practice is surprisingly simple. Separate what you control from what you don't. You control your effort. You don't control people's opinions. You control your honesty. You don't control how others interpret it. You control your character. You don't control your reputation. You control today's actions. You don't control tomorrow's outcome. The moment those lines become clear, life becomes lighter, not easier, but lighter, because you stop carrying responsibilities that never belonged to you. Think about how much energy disappears every day trying to manage other people's emotions, trying to make everyone comfortable, trying to avoid disappointing anyone, trying to be everything for everyone. That it's impossible. And the longer you try, The further you move away from yourself, the people who truly respect you will not respect you because you always agree with them. They'll respect you because your words and your actions match. Integrity creates trust. Performance creates exhaustion. There's another truth most people avoid. Growth often feels lonely, not because you're alone, but because every meaningful change separates you from an older version of yourself. Some people won't understand your new boundaries. Some friendships may quietly fade. Some relationships may become uncomfortable. That's not always failure. Sometimes it's evidence that you're finally becoming honest. Remember this. Not everyone who leaves your life is a loss. Some people leave because the version of you they benefited from no longer exists, and that's okay. Your responsibility is not to remain convenient. Your responsibility is to remain truthful. Every evening before you sleep, ask yourself 3 quiet questions. Did I live according to my values today? Did I allow fear to make decisions that belong to courage? Did I become even 1% closer to the person I want to be? If the answer isn't perfect, don't punish yourself. Simply begin again tomorrow. That is the Stoic way. Not perfection, but consistent return, day after day, choice after choice, until confidence no longer comes from applause. It comes from keeping promises to yourself, because one day you'll realize something extraordinary. The freedom you spent years searching for was never hidden inside another person's acceptance. It was waiting inside your own decisions all along. One day, without even realizing when it happened, you'll walk into a room that once made you nervous, and you'll feel calm. Not because everyone suddenly likes you, not because you've become perfect, but because you finally stopped asking strangers to decide your worth. That is what real freedom feels like. Quiet, steady, unshakable. The world around you may never change. People will still criticize. Some will misunderstand your intentions. Some will judge you without knowing your story. Others will leave without explanation. And a few will never see your value at all. But none of those things have the power to destroy your peace, unless you hand them the keys. For years, you may have believed your life would begin once you received enough approval, enough recognition, enough praise, enough validation. But life has been waiting for you this entire time, waiting on the other side of one decision, the decision to stop performing, the decision to stop apologizing for existing, the decision to stop shrinking yourself so other people can feel comfortable. Because here's the truth. The people you spent years trying to impress will continue living their own lives. The crowd will always find someone else to watch. Social media will always demand more attention. The world will always have another opinion. If your happiness depends on keeping all of them satisfied, peace will always stay one step beyond your reach. But if your happiness is built on character, on integrity, on discipline, on keeping your own promises, then no rejection can steal it, no criticism can weaken it, and no silence can take it away. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that the quality of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, not the opinions surrounding you, not the applause you receive, not the reputation you protect. Your thoughts become your actions become your habits become your character, and your character becomes your destiny. That is why the Stoics spent so little time trying to control the world, and so much time mastering themselves. Imagine where your life could be 1 year from now if you stopped wasting your energy chasing approval. Imagine how much stronger your relationships would become if people finally met the real you instead of the version carefully designed to avoid rejection. Imagine how much confidence you would build if every day you kept one more promise to yourself. Small promises become strong habits. Strong habits build resilient character. And resilient character creates a life that no outside opinion can shake. Remember, confidence is not speaking the loudest. Strength is not proving everyone wrong. Success is not collecting the most admiration. Real confidence is sleeping peacefully because you lived honestly. Real strength is remaining kind without becoming weak. Real success is looking at your own reflection and knowing you didn't abandon yourself to gain acceptance from the crowd. The greatest relationship you will ever have is the one you build with yourself. Protect it, nurture it, honor it, because every other relationship in your life may change. People will come, people will go. Seasons will change, circumstances will change. Your career may change, your home may change, even your dreams may evolve, but one person will remain beside you through every victory, every failure, every heartbreak, and every new Beginning to you.so choose that person. Respect that person. Become someone your future self will thank you for becoming. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait until fear disappears. Don't wait until everyone understands your choices. Begin now. Point 1 Honest conversation. Point 1 Courageous decision. Point 1 Disciplined habit. Point 1 Quiet step forward. Until one morning you wake up and realize you're no longer living for applause. You're living with purpose, that you're no longer performing for an invisible audience. You're building a life that feels authentic even when nobody is watching. And in that moment, you'll discover something most people spend their entire lives searching for. The freedom you were chasing was never hidden in someone else's approval. It was always waiting inside your willingness to choose yourself. If this message spoke to something deep inside you, don't let it end here. Write these 4 simple words in the comments. Let those words become a promise, not to me, not to this channel, but to yourself. If you found value in this journey, subscribe and join us for more timeless Stoic wisdom that helps you build inner strength, emotional freedom, and lasting peace. Until next time.